Good morning. Good morning, all. We're going to begin our reentry meeting. And I'm going to begin by asking the clerk to call roll.
All right. Chairperson Chavez.
Here.
Member Johnson or Member Binder? Absent. Member McGowan? Absent. Member Burchard?
Here.
Present, thank you. Member O'Neill?
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. And Member Silver, just in case you're in the audience. All right. Absent. Member Rosen or Member Cabrera? Absent. Member Nicolai is absent. Member Little or Member Shing? Absent. Member Terrell? Absent. Member Dewan or Member Bundaris? Absent. Member Gaxiola or Member Ho? Cheryl Ho.
Here.
Okay, Member Cheryl Ho is present, thank you. Member Fisk or Member Regan?
Member Fisk present.
Member Fisk is present, thank you. Member Hanson or Member Halcon? Absent. Member O'Brien or Member Kitchens Garcia? Okay, I see Member O'Brien, thank you. Member Amador or Member Trinidad? Absent. Member Tony Williams or Member Yee? Member Williams is present, thank you. Member Shuan or Member Mukoyama?
Member Sean, present.
Okay, both members are present, and Member Shuan is in the dais. Thank you. Member Manley? Present. Present, thank you. Member Hernandez? Okay, absent. Member Loftus or Member Cook?
Present.
Okay, Member Loftus is present, thank you. Member Vujeni or Member Brahim? Okay, Member Brahim is present, thank you. Member Mata or Member Joseph?
Joseph is here.
Yep. Member Joseph is here. Thank you. Member Wiggins? Okay, present. Member Miranda? Absent. Member Kendrick? Absent. Member Ellenberg?
I'm here.
Present. Thank you. Member Temoyne? Present. Thank you. And Member De La Calle? Present. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We're now going to go to public comment, and this is an opportunity to speak to an item that is not on the agenda. So if you're speaking, if something's on the agenda, just wait. Your issue will come up. But for anybody who is wants to speak to an item that is not on the agenda but within the purview of this committee, this would be the time to do so.
So I currently have one card in for a person in chambers and one raised hand on Zoom.
Great.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and give them 3 minutes then. All right, so for our first speaker, I'd like to call up to the podium Anne Marie McClavey. Macaulay. Oh, my apologies. Member Macaulay. Thank you.
And right to the podium, to the that has the mic built right in.
Oh,
Welcome.
great. My name is Anne Marie McCauley, and I'm a South County representative for Mothers Against Drug Addiction and Deaths and a concerned citizen of Gilroy. I started attending the Gilroy City Council meetings in January of 2023. After experiencing the disregard Mayor Blankley has in addressing the issues of addiction and mental health, especially as it relates to crime and homelessness, I decided to look elsewhere for solutions for our cities in crisis. I started watching the reentry and criminal justice meetings last year. Your committee has given me great hope, and I'm starting to understand the direction of the criminal justice system is going. Last month, Gilroy had a woman set fire to a tire store, causing over $300,000 worth of damage. She has previous arson charges, but was just released with no mandatory housing or services. This is unfair to her mental health and to the community. Every single week there are similar incidents. It is unacceptable that anyone is being released back into Gilroy with no housing or services. This is not working, and the fact that the jails stay empty does not quantify success. Gilroy police and quality of life officers are kind, ethical people, and they need tools that will allow them to keep our city safe, confidently, and with integrity. Our service providers cannot effectively treat people who are living on the streets. Our business owners and schools cannot absorb the damages caused by absent solutions. As you know, Gilroy has a significant population of released adults, warranting our reentry center. We have a county hospital, which would be a perfect place to add drug detox, rehabilitation, and mental health services. We have an army of service providers, charities, and community members like myself ready to create a model that exemplifies successful criminal justice reform. Because of Gilroy's size and existing foundation, we can be an example to the county and state of how this would work. Gilroy would achieve great things with the Prop 1 money, combined with reentry, police, service providers, and new city leadership. This committee has shown me what leadership looks like and has given me the courage to come forward on behalf of my city and initiate change. I'm helping mayoral candidate Greg Bozo put together a plan of action to present to our citizens. I'll send all of you a follow-up email to ask for your assistance and advice on how you suggest we move forward to access Prop 1 funds to address our mental health and addiction issues as it relates to crime and homelessness. I'm especially grateful for your honorable leadership represented in this committee, as it has inspired me to take action in a bigger way and not be a victim to the current circumstances. Thank you so much for your consideration and your services.
Thank you. Our next speaker is on Zoom, and our next speaker is Ben Z. Ben Z, please accept the unmute. You will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will begin when you begin speaking.
Yes, hello, good morning. I have yet to address this committee. I've addressed other committees about an issue. And I believe that this committee is especially equipped to address this, and that's we need to address more than just reentry. We need to get people not to enter the system in the first place. And I believe we could do this if we get in early, especially during childhood, and correct things that are wrong. For instance, my kids are being sexually abused. They're being sex trafficked by my former attorney, and nobody will do anything about it. I can't even get this county to conduct a screening. And we all know that in childhood, that's where everything starts. If you want to predict outcomes, you want to predict who's going to enter the system, you look at people's childhoods because everything is experience. And in my case, the system that's meant to protect and to create better outcomes is actually doing everything it can to ruin it, to ruin my standing, to protect my kids. The system itself, charges have been filed against me. I didn't even commit a crime. And the whole goal was to discredit me and to bring the matters into competency hearings where this attorney says she's going to interfere. So I would like to ask this committee, specifically Judge Manley, you know exactly what's going on. Please do something to end this. No kid deserves this. Please help. Thank you.
Okay. And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 3, and this is to approve our consent calendar and any changes to the agenda. And on that, we have, let me look real quick. We have to receive a report from the Office of Diversion and Reentry Services relating to the transition to Reentry Resource Center to a no-entry facility. Number 10, to receive a report from the Custody Health Services relating to access to prescribed medications. And number 11, to receive the report from the Office of the Sheriff relating to late-night releases, in addition to the minutes. So I'm going to turn to my colleague and see if there are any comments and questions, and then I'll do the same with all of you.
Thank you. I'm happy to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as it's published. I would like to make very brief comments on 10 and 11, please. First, with regard to item 10, medication upon discharge, I want to thank Dr. Luna and Michelle De La Calle for connecting with my staff around our shared goal of ensuring that all patients who need medication upon leaving custody have it. The statistics are concerning. Just 43% of patients who needed essential medications for medical conditions were discharged with those medications, 43%. 79% of patients who were taking medication related to mental health needs were discharged with meds. And I do understand that some clients do not wish to have their medications filled before leaving custody, and that could have some impact on the percentages. But in the next report, I'd really like to hear how we can make it easier for patients to adhere to treatment plans, since clearly medication adherence can be a challenge with justice-involved clients, particularly those with serious mental illnesses. And our goal should absolutely be 100% for both. Item 11 regarding the late-night jail releases. This, of course, continues to be a concern, and I understand the limitations we have with the court determining that someone needs to leave, so they need to leave that moment. This is sort of a long-term suggestion, but as we're thinking about new jail designs and options at Elmwood, co-locating transitional housing units, hi Key, I think would be something that could really be helpful in transitioning people immediately and making sure that we're not letting people go in the middle of the night that have no option. That is all, and my motion remains.
Great, thank you. And I just wanted to add that I think what I would like to request, where's Javier? Oh, there you go. So sorry, Javier. On item 9, this is the report out on the Reentry Resource Center functioning as a no-entry facility. And, you know, it's one of the reports about how we're doing a better job of connecting folks who need our services to that service. What I wanted to request is that at our next meeting, that we give an overall vision for what the final product would look like, and that would help, I think, with the reports coming forward, so folks understand what we think that facility should and could do, and what steps are going to need to be taken to make it more available to more people before they get incarcerated, if that's acceptable. And then on item 10, this is the access to prescribed medications. I do want an updated, first of all, where's Dr. Luna? Dr. Luna, so first of all, thank you. This is all getting clearer and clearer every time we learn more, and I concur with the comments that my colleague made about where we are and where we need to be, and I think thank you for being candid about the numbers, because that's the only way we're going to get better. I am still interested in understanding what the expansion opportunities are, and I'd like just an off-agenda report explaining what those expansion opportunities are to make sure that people have access to medication, especially if we're not going to be building in, I mean, I know we're doing work to build in pseudo-pharmacies, but what I don't yet understand is what's the work plan that gets us to a higher percentage, as my colleague asked for. And then last on the late night releases, I want to just ask if through, and I don't think we have, is County Council here today? Ah, Kavita. Okay, I have to tell you, I don't have glasses today, so I just am going to apologize to all of you. You are all Monets. You're lovely to me today, so I apologize. If we could get an off-agenda report about the point that President Ellenberg raised about what we are and aren't allowed to do relative to late night releases, I think it would be helpful to understand the legal premises under which we are engaging in terms of how we're letting people out and when, and how to do that more safely.
Yep, understood. Even if you can't see me, hopefully you can hear me down here. I'm always hiding in the corner over there.
Thank you, Kavita. I appreciate it. All right, any comments or questions from our colleagues on the dais or information requests? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. I'll ask for a roll. Oh, did I take public comment?
Judge Manley.
Oh, Judge Manley, great.
There you go.
We're a good team.
Thank you. I just had a comment relating to the medications. I'm hopeful that we can have a stronger collaboration and a closer collaboration between custody health and behavioral health that are in our courtrooms to make sure that individuals who are still incarcerated but have pending court dates are seen by a psychiatrist and prescribed medications, because I don't know if everyone recognizes or realizes this, but the treatment providers will not accept the individual unless they are compliant with their medications. And this does take time, because many times, as was noted, individuals refuse. There is an engagement team, and Dr. Luna, the staff, they do a wonderful job. They really try. I think the issue may be not enough psychiatrists. But if there was a way to correlate between what's going on in the courtroom, so if an individual is given a future date and behavioral health calls and requests for an earlier doctor's appointment, that would really be appreciated. And I hope we can move in that direction, because I'm seeing too many people who have to stay in jail far too long because we simply can't get the medication started, the doctor's appointments coordinated, the engagement team talking to the individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. All right, did I take public comment on this?
Not yet,
No, okay,
but there
thank you.
are no requests to speak at this
All right,
time.
we'll close public comment and we'll ask for a roll call vote.
And just to clarify, who are the mover and the seconder?
I'll second.
Thank
I
you.
made the motion.
Thank you. All right.
Judge Van? Oh, good. I
So-
didn't realize I didn't have a second.
All right. Shall we go
Oh,
through
you
the
know
roll
what?
call?
We don't need a roll call vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to item 4. And item 4 is, I'm going to ask the folks who are presenting. Item 4 is a report from the Office of Diversion and Reentry Services relating to our faith-based reentry services. Pastor Williams, and I'm really excited, is going to be participating in this. And I will say that part of the reason we're doing this now is that this is Pastor Williams' last meeting with us. And he wanted an opportunity, and I thought it was important to give a little history of how we have been engaging in faith-based work that actually laid the foundation for the work we began at Reentry many, many moons ago. And so I'm excited to see this partnership, and I'm looking forward to the presentation. And are we starting with you, Pastor Williams?
I'll start, and then we'll turn it over to Javier. He has all the slides and that
All right.
kind of thing. But in 2011, after doing seminars in 16 prisons across the United States, from New York to Timbuktu in Florida to all over, I saw the needs of inmates upon their release from prison. It was kind of like astronauts who come in from outer space with no gravity, and now they got to get used to gravity, so we use the word reentry. And people who are incarcerated, coming out, everything's taken care of: food, clothes, rent, lights, heat, all the things that they need. They needed help for reentry, because when they were released, it's like gravity, the pull comes on them, and they had many, many, many needs. And we saw those needs as both felt needs, but I also observed there were spiritual needs, and that's why we wanted faith-based reentry. Felt needs are: I'm hungry, I need a place to stay, I need clothes, I need a job, all of those things. So we started out with the basics, and along with Nancy Pena, Gabby, I believe, Javier, and Dr. Virginia Jones, we met at our church with probation, parole, and just a massive amount of people, and we discussed it. And we wondered, did we need a one facility that was a government program, or could churches and faith-based groups also participate? And so I talked this over in 2007. I talked Cindy Chavez, Supervisor Chavez's ear off on an hour ride to Los Angeles. And we just brainstormed. And by the time I got back, she contacted Nancy Pena, and along with mental health, we started the faith-based program to address all of the basic needs: housing, employment, family reunification, support, and all of those things from that meeting. And out of that grew all of the things that we have. And we have 4 faith-based programs: one at Cathedral of Faith, one at Bible Way Christian Center, one at Maranatha Christian Center, the church I pastored. And then a year later, we had the Basilica downtown join us as well. And from there, we began to serve the folks that came to us. And we didn't call them clients, we decided to call them partners. And we coined the phrase that faith-based is the bleeding hearts of reentry. Because we give hugs, we give rides, we give second, third, fourth chances. We help with anything that we possibly can. And really, we just kind of love on those. After all of those meetings across the United States, those seminars I did, it's so important that you hear what an inmate says. Because before we started, and I think it's changing now, prison inmates were the only one you could be prejudiced against. You know, you can't hate anybody else or you're going to get in trouble. But if you've been in prison, you deserve it, and that kind of thing. But we wanted to change that persona. And through faith-based, that's what we desired to do. And so the 4 programs now are still in existence. We started out giving life skills, anger management. Let me see some of the other things that we did. Housing, employment, all computer skills, resume writing, interview skills, and just a whole lot more of those things that we offered to our partners. And we found it to be successful. And we aligned with the same county reporting, the same requirements of all the other programs. And I challenged, I'll just say this because my faith, we challenged and said, we're going to outdo all the other programs when you get all the reports in. And guess what? We outdid all of the programs when the reports came. Because some came from the county and said, I don't believe this. This can't be true. I said, check the records. Look at the reporting that we did. It's all accurate and the way that you ask us to do it. And so we were able to function, and along with the help of Javier, who we are now under, it was Dave Robinson and I served as co-chair to start this. He was the chaplain of the jail. Liz, who's going to speak today, is now the chaplain there. He retired, and now I'm retiring. And so the reason I jotted down things, because when you get old, you know, you can't see everything. I remember all of the things that are required. But thank you, Cindy, for hearing me. Thank you for reaching out to Nancy. Thank you, Mental Health, Gabby, and all of you for this innovative program that got started. And it wasn't just myself and Dave. It was so many other people from all of the churches that chipped in, gave their advice, gave their understanding, parole, probation, opened up their courtyard so that we could do job fairs and ring the bell every time someone got a job. The first one was greatly successful. The police department, I was good friends. I've been good friends with 5 chiefs since I've been here 35 years, and always had support, always was able to meet with the chief and have their support. And I pitched it to the police department. I said, drop them off at the church if it's not a felony or something. And we were trying to work that out. And then reentry opened up. Now we've got the warming stations and all of that. So it was an honor to serve. It was a privilege. We love those guys and have seen tremendous changes. I've married guys that have come through, dedicated their babies, baptized them, been to their family functions and that. And it's been a real pleasure and a joy to serve. And I was honored to be asked to serve, and honored today to have the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
All right, top that.
Well, I think we're working in this field for the last 11 years and being in partnership with Pastor Tony Williams and expanding the faith-based collaboratives, just a testament to your leadership and all the individuals that have come with, worked with you and also supported our clients. I always remember that there are individuals that exit jail and prison after hours, after we're closed, and the faith-based centers are there to support our clients. Today, we're very excited to provide this committee with a very thorough presentation, but it will be brief, to really just show the work of all the 4 faith-based centers, of all the peer mentors that work there and support the thousands of clients that have gone to the faith-based centers since 2011. So with me, presenting today is Chad Martins and Rebecca Cardenas from our office, Reverend Liz Milner, the Executive Director of the Correctional Institutes of Chaplaincy, and then also here is Angel Hernandez, the Associate Director of Reentry Chaplain. So with that, I will ask Chad to start the presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Pastor Tony. Thank you, Javier. So from a county perspective, you know, the faith-based are doing amazing work. Their goal is to help people reduce their barriers to self-sufficiency. So long-term, it's really about reducing recidivism, but helping people, you know, become empowered and become self-sufficient. Most of what they do is ongoing services, meaning they're enrolling people into a caseload and providing a wraparound support, but they also provide one-touch services, meaning they can serve people on a single encounter if needed as well. So that really breaks down to what we have been referring to in recent years as navigation services, meaning they're enrolling people into a caseload and following them for up to a year. And so this fiscal year so far, as of April 2024, they've enrolled just under 500 people in these programs. And for the folks who've exited this fiscal year, 77% of all exits were successful, meaning they completed their goals or they made significant progress and essentially left the program in a better state of life than they entered the program. We have broken it down here on this slide by service category and provider. As you can see, they do provide a lot of services. So between July and April, over 15,000 service incidents logged in our database. And that's a bit undercounted because they're not naturally able to log everything. But as you can see, they do a lot of phone calls, check-ins, faith and spiritual support, of course, assessments. But then when it comes to the needs-based services, food, transportation, clothing, hygiene, housing, employment, those are the most commonly provided types of services. We also track in our database now, and they've tracked for a long time, but we have a better way to pull the data, is housing status and other life status at entry and exit. So at entry, for the people who exited this year, 37% were homeless and 11% were permanently housed. But at exit, 11% were homeless and 20% were permanently housed. We did something similar for employment status. At entry into the case management, 77% of the clients were unemployed and 5% were employed full-time. At exit, 19% were unemployed and 21% were employed full-time. So as you can see, this wraparound support, this holistic service helps people improve their life status and trajectory. The faith-based centers also provide resource tables outside of Elmwood Correctional Facility. They are either in the lobby or directly outside, and they provide that Mondays through Thursdays in the mornings and the evenings. And that is really the purpose of those tables, is to make sure if anyone's leaving in need of services, in need of advice or information, they're there to kind of catch them and provide them support. So they can enroll people in the program then and there, or they can provide a one-touch service. And we just provided a chart to show some of the one-touch services logged this fiscal year. As you might imagine, bus tokens are the most common because people need help getting to where they need to go post-release. The faith-based centers are also very involved in organizing and are participating in community events. And I won't read through everything, but resource fairs, graduations, they participate in county programs and court partnership programs such as Outreach Court with Judge Manley. So they're doing a lot of extra work to bring people together and help people bond and be pro-social. We're also really excited about our upcoming fellowship pilot. Thanks to Senator Wahhab's office and state funding, we are going to have $125,000 per each faith-based center to create a job opportunity for fellows. So we're going to hire some justice-involved people as fellows, and those fellows will be focused on expanding what the faith-based centers currently do with a greater focus on services to children and families. So services like children's clothing, infant supplies, family bonding events, extracurricular activities. So we're really excited to see what we can do with that pilot. And then finally, I'd like to pass it over to Liz Milner to talk about our work with the chaplaincy. We've been meeting with them and working on ways to collaborate.
Good morning. For many years, CIC, our chaplain service, has contracted with the county to provide multi-faith chaplain and spiritual support for all the adults in custody. So we have years of experience, Pastor Tony knows this, and relationships. And recently, as our dedicated staff team of chaplains, which actually includes one formerly incarcerated person from Elmwood, now thriving and giving back to the incarcerated community, we all visioned together about how we can deepen and expand the impact and success of our community. And we realized we're in a unique position because every day we work with hundreds of people on the inside who are seeking their higher power. We also work every day with hundreds of people in faith-based organizations in our county, supervising over 200 volunteers we have from them as we outreach to these groups. We also know and work closely with programs inside the jail and reentry outside the jail. So we have a foot in the jail and a foot in the community so we can be a bridge, helping those returning to society, helping them make plans and connections more easily while they're inside, using the trust we have with them to help build relationships with reentry and faith communities, and following up with them in the weeks after their release. So we created a new position, which our nonprofit is fully funding right now, a re-entry-focused chaplain who works on the inside, Angel Hernandez, who's here today. So he meets with people who are preparing to return to society. He helps facilitate intake interviews for faith-based programs coming into the jail to help people move into those programs. He trains our volunteers who are meeting with people inside the jail to help them vision for their reentry. And most recently, we started something new called Open Chapel, where if you've been into the jail, you may know we have a huge and beautiful chapel in the middle of the men's minimum area at Elmwood. And we open it up every Wednesday afternoon, and we bring in faith-based providers and reentry staff to meet directly with the over 600 men who are housed there. And it's going well. With 30 to 50 men attending every week, we're seeing those men now follow up at reentry when they get out. And I want to finish with an email I got last week from one man we worked with in custody who is now outside. This is what he says. Tell the guys to keep going to class because it works. I've been out of custody since January 22nd, 2024, and this is the longest outstretch for me in 2 years. I'm doing everything being asked of me to stay out. Thank you for remembering me and following up with me. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Thank you.
So with that, we're open for questions and comments from the committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you. First, what I'd like to do is take public comment, and then I'll come to all of you for any comments or questions.
All right, I do have 3 cards for speakers in chambers and 1 hand raised on Zoom currently. Yes, go ahead. All right. So our first speaker is Yesenia Velasquez. If you can make your way up. And Rudy Menchaca and Oscar Garcia, please come up and form a line in by the podium so we can have you arranged.
Good morning.
correctly. Thank you.
So my name is, do I start?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Yesenia Velasquez. My journey with the justice system started when I was a teenager. I got involved with the wrong crowd and made some poor decisions. That led to my incarceration. I spent most of my young adulthood in and out of jails and prisons. I felt like I had no future and support. The Good Samaritan program changed everything for me in 2022. After being paroled from prison, they provided me with a case manager who understood my struggles and believed in my potential. With their support, I was able to focus on getting employment as they eased my burden. With buying me clothes for my new job, assisted me with one-time rental assistance, and helped pay for my partial payment when my car needed to be fixed, which was crucial a step in my reentry process. The Good Samaritan program didn't just provide me with practical support. They gave me hope and a new sense of purpose. They showed me that I could turn my painful experience into something positive. Today, I am proud to work for the Breakout Prison Outreach Never Give Up program as a reentry specialist. I am now a part of the community of people who are committed to making a difference, and I couldn't have done it without the support of the Good Samaritan program. I share my story with others reentering back into society to let them know that change is possible and that they are not alone. The Good Samaritan program didn't just help me survive, it helped me thrive. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. My name is Rudy Menchaca. First, I'd like to thank the Good Samaritan program for allowing me to get up here and to thank you guys personally. And to thank you guys for the people that haven't had the chance to tell you their stories. And you guys have been a part of a big change within the way people think, the way people feel. People now, they're talking different about our system. You know, now our system is showing compassion, right? They're not just locking you up and throwing away the key, right? They're just not giving you setbacks. Now they're giving people hope, right? And a lot of us that have come through these programs end up getting into the field, right, of recovering, right? We end up. I've been going back to the church faith-based now for like four years, and I'm there, and I'm there every Tuesday. Okay. I really do appreciate you guys. I just want to say thank you. I could never imagine that something like this would be taking place. Okay. You know, people like me at one time were thinking there was no hope for people like us. And I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Oscar Garcia. I'm with the Catholic Charities. I am a mentor and an appointment specialist. First off, thank you, Reentry. Tony, thank you for the vision. I appreciate it. Cindy as well. There's so many things going through my mind, but with a minute and 45 seconds, I'm going to simplify it the best I can. On that note, I want to say that in 2012, I was looking at 30 years of life. By the grace of God, Hector Ramon. Judge gave me a chance to come home. I came home in 2019. I've been home over 5 years as of April 19th. I came home. I was introduced to a reentry center who navigated me to Christina Yee and her team. At that time, I was clueless. I did not know what I was going to do. I had no family. I had no support. I just came home with a box that everybody went through. On that note, it was like, what do I do? Julian was my mentor. He was my case manager at the time. He guided me. He redirected me. He helped me on my journey. It was a challenging thing in life. I was scared and I was vulnerable. I did not know what I was going to do. I did not know where I was going to go. I sit here emotionally because I think, mind you, we didn't have the reentry center when I was fighting the case. So with the faith base, because I'm a man of faith, that's exactly how I want to be directed. I don't want to go nowhere else. So I am so grateful for that opportunity. Good Samaritan has helped me with my ability to get back on my feet. They helped me with housing. They helped me with clothing. I mean, Jesus, they helped me with furniture when I got my housing. They helped me with everything I needed to get back to where I wanted. Today, I'm grateful, I'm humble. I am a productive member of society. I give back. I help individuals find employment. I'm continuing to grow on my path. I just graduated from San Jose City. I'll be going to San Jose State next year. And with that said, I'm just grateful. I wish I had more time to talk, but thank you, panel. Please don't give up. Let's break the cycle of recidivism.
And we do have one more speaker on Zoom. Okay. So our next speaker is Benzie. Benzie, we are unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, these Good Samaritan programs, they really do sound like they're making an impact for people who are just coming out of the system and they need shelter, they need clothing, they need food, they need to have a way to get back up on their feet. And you guys are doing great work, and I applaud you guys for doing that. And I think really the key, I think from hearing the people speak and the presenters, the public speakers and the presenters speak, you know, the key is empathy. I mean, you guys care about other people. And I mean, like, I'll give you an example where people just don't care. My son, he told me that my ex-wife was letting a man anally rape him. And when I tried to get help for him and my other kids who are also showing signs of the same sexual abuse, I was repeatedly assaulted and charges were filed against me. And that's just because a well-connected attorney is involved. And that's just wrong. I mean, the same judges that are helping these people come out of prison and reacclimate and have a better life and help the community, these same judges, they need to care about our children, because they don't care about our children. They'll let them be raped. They'll have proceedings that will nullify a person's ability to protect his kids. And that's just plain wrong. Especially, you know, when I'm telling people that I'm being assaulted because of this. And I posted this all online. If anybody wants to see it, Google Valerie Houghton sex trafficking, HOUGHTON, and you'll see how the system, how it works against some people sometimes. And I really hope that we can change this and use the system,
All right, we do have one more speaker in chambers, Wes Mukoyama. Please approach the podium, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Wes Mukoyama, and I am a lay Buddhist chaplain for the ministry. So I want to shout out to Buddha, not just to God, about what we do. And I want to shout out to Reverend Williams. I've known him since we started. I brought in CIC to the faith-based ministries, and we've worked together for a long time. And I can only talk about his dedication to the cause of helping people reestablish themselves in the community. I will be talking later on item 8, but I just want to take this special time to say to you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes our speakers.
Great, thank you. I wanted to see if there are any comments or questions from any of my colleagues on the dais. No? All right. Oh, of course. No, I don't mean that in a bad way. Go, Susan.
Just first of all, thank you so much to all of the folks who just spoke publicly and shared your stories. This is exactly what we need to hear, frankly, every day, all the time. And the biggest question that's in my heart is, how do we reach more people? How do we have so many stories like yours? And frankly, how do we really get recidivism numbers down near zero, because it clearly is possible. So I want to recognize and express tremendous gratitude, Pastor Williams, for your brainchild idea. I'm grateful that you had a community, including a tremendous leader, that immediately said, yes, how can we make this happen? So I think this is one of the most critical things that the county is a part of in the way that we're able to support the faith-based reentry. I noted that a number of things that the public speakers noted that you needed, rent deposits, payments for to repair your car, et cetera. And to me, what it really comes down to, the hugs are good and the welcoming nature is good, and people need money, often more than they need programs. And I'm so excited about the guaranteed income program, basic income program that will be starting for our reentry population. And I'm looking around because I'm not sure if there's anyone in the room that can give me an update. I know that there's been some really strong community engagement around eligibility and what that pilot would look like, but I'm really interested to know when it's going to get going. Is that Key?
Thank you, Supervisor Keeley, Deputy County Executive. We're going to submit the final evaluation plan this month, and we hope to begin the outreach and engagement in August or September.
And what will be coming to the board, if anything, to share the details?
Probably in August, we'll have a report that outlines the status of all of the projects and when they will launch, and then responds to Supervisor Chavez's question about who will do the evaluation, which is the staff in the Public Health Department Science Branch will do the evaluation for all of the projects.
Oh, that's interesting. Is San Jose State doing it now?
No.
No. Okay, I'm going to have my team follow up after to just get some more detail, but thank you, and I am really glad to hear that we're only a couple of months away. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Pastor?
Can I just make one more comment?
Absolutely, and then we'll go to the judge.
Also, I've been talking with Javier. My second brainchild that I know you guys will bring to pass is what we're calling pre-entry. And that's before people enter into the system. Working with teenagers, at-risk kids, sharing with them, talking with them, supporting them, providing activities for them, all of those things. It's not on paper. We've just been talking about it. And so we want to reach the population before they get in the system. We want it to be a lifeline to prison, from the inner city to the prison. We'd like to see someone address them, the children of inmates, men and women, and also just at-risk kids from the schools, from churches, or anywhere else that we have an opportunity to reach out to do that. So
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I was just calling it pre-entry. I
Yeah,
made it up.
and actually, I'm so glad, Pastor Williams, you raised that. And Susan was just saying, well, no, that's no entry, and that's right. That's exactly right. I think one person who's not here that I think is worth us thinking a little bit about how to have this committee get a presentation is our Chief Children's Officer, because a lot of the work that we're trying to effectuate now really is rooted in us doing more prevention through early childhood education, early, doing a better job with the services that children need even before they get into kindergarten, right? So we're really trying to get deep so that we're able to help people early. I think the other point that you raised that I just want to illuminate is a little more about I do think we have to be really rigorous about our intervention, and I know probation through the Neighborhood Safety Unit is really trying to help us refine that approach, and a lot of that, again, has to be done in partnership with that Chief Children's Officer if we're going to make a big move. And then lastly, some of you may know that we just kicked off a partnership with the City of San Jose that's focused on the San Jose's Youth Master Plan. And the county and the city are worked really closely on the development of that master plan, which is, I think we've always done that, but I think what's been less true is that the metrics and the KPIs, what everybody's going to be responsible for, will be more robustly shared by the county and the city in partnership with our nonprofit partners. And so we're overlapping this program called Blue Zones to do a better job of refining what are the changes that we need to see in metrics for kids that ultimately break that chain, really, that takes our kids that are foster youth or who've had some touch with the system at a relatively young age and just pipelines them into the wrong direction. So I think we'll see more on that. And the one thing I would say to Pastor Williams is I'll be leaving in December, and I'm hopeful that the more refined we are in saying here are the ways we're going to measure a child's success are much more clear, and frankly that we're much more honest about where we're meeting them. And one thing, and I just want to really acknowledge Susan on this, is that we have been asking for data, and the purpose of that is really it is not to blame, it is to understand, and then to better understand how we move our metrics. I think an older board would have taken the 43% number and demanded change, and that's just so unhelpful. And so I think all of us have to be much more willing to say, we're learning and we're going to get better. And to the point, the reason I was asking about the research is that I think we need to be embedding longitudinal studies in the investments that we're making, and in partnership, not just with our own institutions, but I think, to your point, with institutions of higher learning, so that those learnings are embedded publicly, not just with us, but in other research. So something for us to think about. If there are no other comments or questions, I wanted, I'm sorry, Judge Manley. Go ahead.
Very briefly, I just wanted to again thank the faith-based reentry programs. Pastor Williams, I can tell you from a practical standpoint, every day I'm referring individuals for these faith-based services from the courtroom, because I often find that we have wonderful programs out in the community, but there's always one thing missing that they really need desperately. And the best way to get that accomplished, whether it be some help with paying that first month's rent or getting some work clothes, is to refer them to the faith-based reentry. Because to me, what they do is they do two things. They take care of that missing link that we don't quite have to make your reentry work for you. And most importantly, they keep giving people hope. And so it's been a great honor to work with them and continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a little surprise for Pastor Williams. Don't worry, we're not singing, but we're gonna present a commendation. And I was laughing that he has so many from us, but this is really the county's expression of gratitude for the leadership that you've shown. So I'm gonna ask you to come down with me to the rostrum. And I'm not going to read this because you all know I'm blind today, but I did want to just say a couple of things that are, to me, extraordinarily important about Pastor Williams. And I'm going to try not to get emotional because he's moving, and I just want to say first, what a blessing it's been to have you be a leader of the County of Santa Clara and the City of San Jose. And for those of you who don't know him well, let me just tell you a couple things that is important to know about him. One is that he is always thinking about others and always thinking about how to lift other people up. I don't know, there are very few people whose generosity is just so pronounced and profound every time you see them. The second thing is he's got the effect of sharing an idea and then getting other people to work on it. And that's a really great leadership quality where people feel like it's their idea. And you're so kind that you thought of every person who helped get this over the finish line. And, Nancy Pena, the other person I wanted to raise was George Shirakawa Jr. Yes. He played a huge role in the way we think about our family that are incarcerated and thinking differently about them. And I've been thinking a lot about him as it relates to your good work. The other thing to know about Pastor Williams is that he's direct without being mean-spirited, ever. I've never heard you degrade another person or talk poorly about an idea, always about how to change the direction of the conversation. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that there's a Bible passage, and I'm at huge risk to say it right now because you're going to tell me the actual chapter and verse, but it talks about there's no greater love than a man laying down his life for another. And I think about that a lot as it relates to what that means in a very visceral sense in terms of being in combat or battle and really protecting somebody else who's not related to you. But you live that every single day. So on behalf of the County of Santa Clara, I want to give you yet another commendation. But this is really an opportunity for me to say thank you publicly for all your good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This really goes to so many others. And I have two speeches on acceptance of this. One is a short one and then a long one. And the short one is thank you. And the long one is thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you all very, very much. And we are not taking a vote on that item because it's a report, but we did give some ideas to staff, which I hope they will consider. So with that, I'm going to move on to item 5, and this is a discharge planning for women leaving jail.
I'm going to just turn it over, excuse me, turn it over to Chad Martins to do the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning again. Chad Martins, Assistant Director, Diversion and Reentry Services. This is an update on our women leaving county jail, specifically in relation to our women in custody framework. Basically, the framework, as you remember, breaks down to 2 core groups. We have the work group. It's really focused on the planning and the women in custody work plan, which is attached to the report. And we have the case conferencing team that's more focused on direct services. And of course, we have the executive team who helps us assign staff to the work and plan things out on a larger scale. So when it comes to case conferencing outcomes, between July and April 18th, 2024, July 2023 and April 18th, 2024, we case conferenced 217 women. 32 were still in custody at the time. 185 had been released at the time of the analysis. As we've seen in previous reports, the most common type of plan that we capture in our case conferencing notes is a release to behavioral health program. And then we have some others listed there on the table. And I do want to note that those who are short stay, not eligible, and some of the other categories do get engaged by staff. We're just not able to capture everything on a multidisciplinary, through our case conferencing meeting, and also due to not having releases for those women. Takeaways haven't changed much since the last update. We are still seeing some of the same core challenges. Some of the women with high needs are declining services, so we're focused on, increasing the way we engage. Some of the women are not in custody long enough to case conference with our full team, and some are released on unscheduled releases, which makes it hard for us to calendar them to be case conferenced on our list. And then, of course, we have the issue I mentioned with the releases that makes it a bit more difficult to capture and share information. So for future directions, what we're really focused on is continual improvement. I think we've been able to do a lot with the resources we have, but I think there's more we can work on with that current team. And then on a higher level, we want to align with strategies for more robust and intentional discharge planning for both men and women. So there are conversations happening right now about how we plan that out and really structure that. So we're hoping this can eventually be a part of those efforts as well. And then finally, we have some updates on our Women in Custody work group. The work group's still meeting monthly. They are, like I mentioned, following the work plan attached to the report. These are just a few highlights that we've accomplished this last fiscal year. We have a packet for women in custody that's being finalized that's really focused on making sure they all have resources and self-help tools. We have the permanent location for the Mission Street Recovery Station. That is also used as a temporary shelter for people released after hours without services. So that's very helpful to women who are released unscheduled, but also if they need the services that center provides as well. We have our 5K fundraiser every year. We're just spending down the remainder of the funding, and we're going to plan a next one. And then I just want to highlight the most recent in May 2024. We had a Mother's Day event, which was really great, and family were able to come in and meet with women and have physical contact. And so we added a few pictures there of that event. That concludes the presentation. We have some folks from our partners here too to answer any questions.
Thank you. Would you mind if the sheriff, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, good morning. I'm Lieutenant Solis. I'm currently in the role of the Women's Liaison Lieutenant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. I'm going to first go to see if there's any public comment on this item.
We currently don't have any requests to speak at this time.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment, and I'm going to see if there are comments or questions from my colleagues. I'll start with President Ellenberg, but anybody else?
Thanks so much for the report. It highlights some gaps in discharge planning, particularly for women who have unplanned releases or very short stays in jail, which is understandable. And I'm aware that there are currently some high-level efforts to revamp the way we create discharge plans for women and also for men. And can you share a bit about that ongoing work and how partners are building toward kind of a more standardized discharge process? And interested to know about the timing for that.
That's an excellent question. So in collaboration with Michelle De La Calle and her team, the implementation of the Justice Involved Initiative for the CalAIM, the Enhanced Care Management Program, we're already in discussion on how do we leverage our community workers, peer mentors to support not only just the transition plans, working with the Office of the Sheriff and Custody Health, but also the discharge plans. So the timing, I'll defer to Michelle in terms of how we're going to be releasing that new efforts in the next few months.
Hi, good morning. Michelle De La Calle, Director of the Office of
Can you go a little closer to your mic, Michelle?
I'll do my best. Director of the Office of System Integration and Transformation, and I oversee and lead a lot of the work around CalAIM, including the Medi-Cal waiver allowing for 90-day pre-release services, including but not limited to discharge planning and care coordination. We are in kind of the back and forth with DHCS in terms of the finalization of readiness assessments and implementation plans with our proposed go-live date of October 2024. That is the earliest date that we can go live with that opportunity. Okay. We are looking very broadly at the discharge planning to include all potential folks that would engage with services, not solely limited to the Medi-Cal population. However, we're developing kind of systems and processes to understand the current processes, trying not to disrupt any of the great work that's being done, and also leverage a lot of the best practices that have been developed by some teams. So I'm really just trying to kind of pull all of the great information, the great services that are already being done. How do we collaborate that, improve communication, understand better when people might be leaving, plan for that, and provide services in real time at release. It's really exciting, and I also say bigger than a bread box because it's a lot. But you know, as we develop or find things that we can implement sooner or in collaboration with other folks already doing the work, we hope to do that. You know, I see a lot of the partners out here already, so it's just really about pulling all those things together, extracting best practices, finding what works for some of the most vulnerable and pulling that out so that we can apply it to a broader population, maybe with less resources for those that don't need as much, but also ensuring that we provide whatever we can to whomever will receive it when we can get in and work with them. We're collaborating with, I don't know who we're not collaborating with across this work, so it's actually really exciting. And we're fingers crossed going to be able to draw down the grant dollars related to that, as well as be able to potentially maximize revenue where we can to offset costs, but not relying on that solely because we know the population is not all going to be eligible, but we want to make sure that as much of the population we can serve, we will serve.
And if I may add too, with the collaboration with Lieutenant Solis and Dr. Holly Child and the rehab officers, they're engaging the women in terms of what works and what does not work in terms of discharge and who is doing what, and case managers and various plans. So we're trying to also gain input from the clients in custody to then share that with all of our stakeholders.
Thank you both so much for that information. It's, I think, a positive conundrum that we've created for you as people are moved out of custody more and more quickly, which is a good thing because we know how destabilizing that is. It's really forcing us to become more nimble and more creative in how we respond in this much shortened time frame to make sure that our efforts are successful. So I appreciate, Michelle, your endless creativity and efforts to just figure out with an enormous bureaucracy how we can make things work at the cellular level for every individual that contacts with our system. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? I just had two that are more broad. One is that as we go through this process, I really appreciated the last point you raised about asking women if it works for them and for us to be much more client-centered. I'd be very interested in, frankly, understanding how we get feedback over an extended period of time, especially when women have an opportunity to be out of the system for an extended period of time, even if some of them would agree to letting us do a check-in with them. Because I think when something's that traumatic, you're experiencing it in the moment versus getting a chance to reflect. So that would be my first request. My second would be that I'm very interested in understanding how, through our reentry process, we can support the reconnection to children and families in particular, but children specifically. And it has me thinking a lot about the leadership role that Susan is playing in helping us really integrate early learning and childcare and all of those good things. But it got me thinking when I was listening to you talk about your car getting repaired. That is a really important thing to make sure you can keep going to work and doing all the other things you need to do. I wonder if we also have at the table the Office of Education or somebody in that role who's making sure that children have as children are moved maybe from staying with a caregiver back to mom, whether or not we're also making sure there's a child care voucher or component to that's where they really do get the resource and referral number right away, and that's something that they can work on. Because I do think that one of the big risks for moms is having children removed permanently and not being able to make that connection with child care is actually probably very, very significant. I would say after school care too, but let's start with child care. Thank you. All right. With that, I don't think we don't need to take any action on that except to say thank you. And we're very excited about the direction that this is going in. And we want to know from our folks, the women who we're serving, whether or not we're serving them well. So we'll go on to item 6, and this is the Adult Reentry Strategic Implementation Plan.
Well, thank you, and I wouldn't remiss saying a comment of what Pastor Tony saw. Early on in my career, I was taught that when the judge calls you into their chamber to talk about programs and services, you take the call and you visit the judge. And when Pastor Tony texts, emails, or calls us to brainstorm ideas, you take that call. So thank you, Pastor Tony, for continuing that effort in terms of envisioning ideas. And that's the whole plan or the efforts that we've undertaken over the last 12 years with our strategic plans, from the inception when it was first created back in late 2012 in response to the Public Safety Realignment Program. And so we have a quick slide presentation in terms of the efforts that we're doing in terms of the updates to the strategic plan. So in your packet, you have just a brief description of the current strategic plan, and that was envisioning what we've done since July 1st of 2022. So over the years, this is our fourth iteration of the reentry strategic plan, and it was focused on 4 key strategies: serve the client, strengthen collaboration, sustain public safety, and steward operational excellence. over the years, we've made some improvements and added new programming. And just last year, in October of 2023, we presented to the Reentry Network in terms of all the updates and all the meeting the objectives of that plan. We also were looking at how we were going to start planning for our next iteration. As many of you know, this plan does expire at the end of this month. And so we came to the Reentry Network letting you know that we were going to be working with our Lived Experience Advisory Board, surveying and taking input from our Community Corrections Partnership that's chaired by Chief Burchard, the Reentry Network, and public safety and justice stakeholders, identifying some of our shared common goals and outcomes in terms of client services, jail reduction programs, and of course, community engagement. So over the last few months, we've presented to our Lived Experience Advisory Board, received input, met with key stakeholders to start identifying some key guiding principles and values. And on this slide, we have 4 guiding principles and values, and it's really centered on equity programs, the responsibility to sustain public safety, creating and sustaining partnerships, and a client-centered forward-thinking of reentry support. In addition to those guiding principles and values, after looking at the various different efforts already underway, as you know, the Public Safety and Justice is reviewing the Alternatives to Incarceration Implementation Plan Work Group recommendations. We've had the bail release work group recommendations. We did a 10-year reentry AB 109 plan, and all the various different initiatives from various departments, and also the county strategic framework. We kind of looked at all of that and identified 4 key strategies that we want to move forward and discussing over the next year. That is focused on entry points, alternatives to incarceration, transition from custody to community, and reentry and supervision. And then also, how do we bring all this and operationalize some key strategies with evaluation and data collection. So our recommendation today is to request that we extend the current strategic plan for the next fiscal year. That gives us an opportunity for us to look at all the other efforts, as I mentioned, the Alternatives to Incarceration Work Group, the remaining recommendations from the Bail Release Working Group, and then also, as Michelle De La Calle talked about, the CalAIM Justice Involved Initiative, as we roll that out, how does that present and also create some opportunities for us moving forward? And of course, with the board's review of the recommended budget in terms of how we're sustaining and funding our community-based organizations in the next year. And as many of you know, all of our community-based organizations will be conducting a release for proposals this calendar year, as all of our CBO contracts will expire next year. So taking all that information, we feel it will be more prepared to bring with some ideas of how the next iteration of the adult reentry strategic plan. And so after your consideration, we'll take it to the board in August to adopt the extension of the current plan. This strategic plan is the Community Corrections Partnership Plan that all counties are required to submit to the state in December. So with your approval and the Board of Supervisors' approval, probation and the Community Corrections Partnership will then submit the current plan for another year to the state. And so with that, we're open for questions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to first go to public speakers.
We do not have requests to speak for this item.
Thank you. I'm going to then go to my colleagues. Supervisor.
I'll just make a motion to forward the plan to the board for consideration with very favorable recommendations for approval.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments on that item? All those. Oh, a motion. Oh, God, I almost did it again. Thank you. We got the judge. Lucky for Judge Manley on that. Thank you. They got it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Thank you for all that work. We're going to move on then to item 7. Wait a minute, am I right? Thank you. Item 7, and this is a collaboration between the autism spectrum disorder, the traumatic brain injury, and fetal alcohol spectrum. Sorry. I don't know who's presenting on. Oh, that's right, Michelle.
I'm going to try and get close up here, sorry. Michelle De La Calle, Director of System Integration and Transformation, and with me is our Medical Director, Dr. We Know. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the program and the updates and kind of the learnings and direction that we're going to take. This came from the joint effort across custody, behavioral, and physical health, and led through my team here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. So the integrated care team serves and is a joint effort around individuals with executive function disorders such as autism, fetal alcohol spectrum, and brain injury, traumatic brain injury. It's to support the population who have had interaction with the Santa Clara Correctional Facilities and has been active for the last 20 months. And the team has provided non-traditional case management, focused on building trust and support for the unique individual needs of those with executive function disorders. As outcomes, we've evaluated nearly 100 patients. We've enrolled 35 patients, and of those 35, 15 have really been meaningfully engaged, meaning they are connecting frequently. We've spent enough time with them that we've developed trust with them, and now they're working with us on items of importance. The 14 may move into that meaningfully engaged, and we're keep giving them opportunities, but it does take time to kind of build that trust. You'll see on this side over here, we have a decreased number of encounters with the correctional facilities, a decreased number of days, decreased inpatient hospitalization, and decreased emergency room, and increased with primary care. So those are all kind of the trends we want to see with this population. And then here, the unengaged, it's a little bit more variable. We are seeing some decreased correctional facility encounters and days, and decrease on emergency visits, but an increase on patient days and a decrease on primary care. So totally variable and not all in the right direction. Again, the number is small, so with a grain of salt. We do want to highlight one case study. This is a patient that has been within our health system for over a decade. We are able to pull about a decade's worth of information and know that he's, prior to our engagement with him, he's had multiple engagements with the correctional facility, as well as high utilization in emergency departments and inpatient stays. He has a very complex history, including traumatic brain injury, co-occurring mental health and physical health disorders, and substance use disorder. We engaged with his most recent incarceration in the July 18th of 2023. And after that release, where we supported him in his reentry process on a very high-touch, high-intervention level. He's had no further incarceration. We've partnered very closely with AOT, who is also seeing this patient. And he's connected with family. He's been intermittently housed. He's been able to get an ID and get his paperwork in for PSH. And one of the most notable things is, for the first time ever, he connected with a primary care physician more than once. And this is, important because that allows for that ongoing service, that medication management, preventative services, and it just feels really good to know that this gentleman with 30, 40, nearly maybe 50 years, Dr. No knows better, but of trauma, and injury and disorder and homelessness, that he's connecting with people and beginning to trust a little bit in the system of care, and we think that's on the right path. And connecting with family, which is also hugely important for maintaining stability and those things. So that's our case study that we just want to talk about and just show a little bit of the data around that and how we look at our outcomes one-on-one. And then just key learning over time. This population really benefits from additive and supportive work with expertise around executive function disordering in a layered manner with some of the other programs that already exist. We work with AOT, FDR, we work with OSH on their CET programs, ECM, the primary care medical homes, and other behavioral health programs like FSP or IFSP or all the programs in the outpatient world. So really just looking at how do we then expand this to serve more folks that are hitting other programs. So we may look at existing specialized teams that would benefit from a EFD co-occurring focus so that we can highlight those tailored needs in collaboration with the other needs of other teams that might be working with them on a daily basis. In light of our previous discussion, we are looking at the discharge planning and the care coordination that this team is doing as a model or a best practice to expand and learn from as we go into the CalAIM JI initiative. And then looking at how do we develop an education or series so that we can provide other high risk, other vulnerable population teams education around how to serve this population and how they might be different than somebody who just has mental health disorder or physical health disorder without co-occurring executive function disorder, which may complicate their other symptoms. And then again, how to support successful community reentry when they are involved in the correctional facilities locally. With that, Dr. No and I are here for questions, and we're happy to take them.
Dr. No, did you want to add any comments? And thank you for your work on this, both of you.
Hi, committee members and supervisors. Thank you for having us here and giving it, this update. The work that we've been doing, it's been so humbling, and we've learned so much. I really hope that we can take this opportunity, take some of the key concepts of caring for this patient population and move it forward, work together. I see so much kind of progress in the past couple years in this kind of work. I also see the big gaps, especially things related to patients with FASD, autisms, TBIs. Our patients are just wired differently physiologically, and part of the job that I see for myself is how can we support them medically and otherwise because of their conditions. A lot of these disabilities are things we can't see physically, and appreciate again all your effort and support for this work.
Thank you for your good work, Dr. No. So I'm going to first see if there's any public comment, and then I'll come back to my colleagues.
There are no requests to speak.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public comment period, and I see a light, and I think, is it you, Molly? Great.
Yes,
Public
thank you,
defender.
and thank you for the presentation. I just had a question about the 15 engaged clients. Do you have a breakdown of whether they were TBI or autism spectrum or FAS? And if so, if you're willing to share that.
I don't think we have that at hand right now, and they may be undiagnosed or underdiagnosed, especially with FAS, because we are working a lot with older populations. We can bring that in the next report.
The reason I ask the question is because I'm trying to understand who it is that's engaging. I've had a lot of clients with TBI and with fetal alcohol syndrome, we think, based on family history, and it's so tricky to try and get compliance or engagement or even comprehension. So I was trying to understand who the population is. Thank you.
Dr. No, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah. Predominantly, I don't have the numbers with me, but predominantly the patients are those with TBIs. There are patients, a couple of patients with a very high probability for FASD. The challenge has been to help the patient stabilize enough that we can make a formal diagnosis. But it's a part of what we're trying to focus and identify, and I suspect that it's a combination of diagnoses as well. Thanks for bringing it up.
Any other comments or questions? I do hear. Oh, thanks, Dr. O.
Hi, Michelle and Dr. No. Thanks for your report. I have two questions. One, can you explain a little bit more about how folks get referred into this program? And then the second question is, for those that are unengaged or choose not to, what do you see as the barriers for the engagement?
Hi, thanks for asking those questions. They're good. For the first part, for the second part, the barriers that a number of our patients is really about staffing and also just timing. Building the rapport, we talk about rapport all the time in this kind of work, but it's so key and vital. Trust is something where our patients, they've been unaccustomed to it at times, and so a number of the patients that have engaged, it's been months, sometimes up to a year. We're meeting them out in the streets a number of times and just saying that we're here. And even when things come up, we're still here. And that's a really effective strategy. A number of our patients cross over and work with us just because we're there. Having staff is the other key parts, because if we don't have enough staff to engage and so on, that limits us. And can you remind me the first part of your question again?
How do folks get referred into this program?
Yes. We started with the Elmwood psychologists and the medical team, so they can refer directly to us. We've also started a pathway for the juvenile hall population, and we're working on a model of how that workflow is. So at the current moment, just emails in HealthLink or regular emails can be referred to us.
Just a couple things that I wanted to acknowledge. First, thank you for all the incredible work, and I want to just acknowledge that that when we bring, and I see that we have the links. If you go on the, you're looking at this online, you'll have the links to some of the older reports. And the reason I think, and Dr. Ho, it'd be interesting to get your perspective on this. The reason I think that's really important is that even though we have known that folks have these kinds of challenges and that their recidivism is actually really related to your point about how folks are wired and what it is that we can do to really move them into a different lane is so critical. But it is also relatively new work for us. And so one thing I wanted to say to Michelle and Dr. No, the numbers are so compelling, even though they're small, because it is helping us understand, frankly, what the parents of children who were incarcerated, I mean, they were adults, but who were incarcerated were telling us was part of their problem, too, is they were undiagnosed or there was no clear medical intervention. And how do you help somebody who is just, so high need, and that we were not able to diagnose fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, in a number of these populations, but they suspected that to be the case as well. Again, these were parents. But I say all that because I do think that one of the questions that I think is really critical here, and really appreciate that you've listed it, is that the learnings that you're having with this population are going to be helpful to others as well. And so, again, want to acknowledge why this discussion is so important, but also why the research and keeping the and this may be more for administrative staff, but keeping the files really updated so that we can see where we came from as we're moving through these processes. So thank you for that. There's no action on this item, but I do want to just say how much I appreciate the report and, frankly, the candor in it, because we're learning, and we have to really acknowledge that. Oh, actually, I do have one last question. Are there other custodial facilities that are looking at this same population that you've discovered in your work or your research?
Not that we know of. We did present at CAPH last year, which is I can't think of the
California Association of Public Hospitals.
Yeah. And we also presented at the Western Correctional Facility, Washka something last year. So we're trying to spread a little bit of the best practice. I think it will be interesting to see how we can approach this as we do learnings with the CalAIM Justice Involved initiatives, because I think that's where we'll get more uptake, and where that's somewhat stemming from the whole person care work. I think that work helped me see a little bit more into this and be able to partner in ways. Right. And so I think there's some momentum here. I think the 90-day pre-release services may support this. Yeah. Again, it may be a challenge with some of the, finding the right mix. I'm excited to see Erin turn her light on.
All right, Erin.
So, oh, you're going to be so disappointed.
Oh, no.
But I did want to say amazing work, and thank you guys and I really appreciate what you said, because the outreach and the relationship building to build trust is absolutely foundational. I am curious, when this started and the advocates kind of first brought it, a lot of what they were talking about was how within the carceral settings, these folks with executive functioning disorders were dealt with, because they process information, they understand direction differently. So I'm curious if anything's happening kind of on that side of the issue.
I can speak a little bit to that. Right around the time that we started our program a couple years ago, in the custody settings, there is already a CSP cognitive support plan workflow in place to identify those with potential cognitive impairments from head injuries and some of these. And so it's a big step in terms of identifying those patients and then having a separate workflow or protocol to support those patients specifically. So each of the patients that are identified as such, they have a behavioral and care plan, so that way as things comes up, those things are done. Examples would be given more time to explain to them, different environment depending on some of their triggers for PTSD and such, or things that would exacerbate their behaviors.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that good work. And Javier, you should send this to Miguel Marquez, because I know he was our first convener on these, and let him know well done now that he's in Pasadena, and he probably misses us terribly. All right. We'll move on to item 8. Thank you very much, both of you. And this is temporary housing services for parolees. And colleagues, if you could all hang in, this is our last item.
Good morning, and this is a report on the temporary housing services for parolees. As in prior meetings, there have been some questions and inquiry about the housing services that are provided to individuals that are coming out of state prison, returning back to their communities, their homes here in Santa Clara County. And in the audience, we have some key partnerships that we work with this at the state level. Locally, and that's the GEO reentry services that the state has contracted to support parolees that are under parole supervision and in the audience, if you have questions later, is Jennifer Herrillo, the program manager for the GEO Reentry Services, the Santa Clara County Day Reporting Center, and Rena Roman with the GEO Reentry Services for STOP. So, as I mentioned, the state does contract for services for parolees with GEO Reentry Services, and their center and their office is located in Campbell. And they have dedicated temporary housing such as THUs and specialized treatment for optimized programming, the STOP program. And then they also contract for sober living environment. Keep in mind that a lot of the parolees that are participating and receive housing must participate in the outpatient substance use treatment services. Not only are parolees working directly with GEO and the Division of Adult Parole Operations to serve them when they return to the community, but parolees also have access to the reentry centers, both in San Jose and Gilroy, as county residents and folks that are formerly released from state prison and jail. And so if the parolees do come to the reentry centers and they did indicate that they have a parole agent, we want to make sure that we coordinate those appropriate services with the parole agent, because it's very important for the parolees to know what they're being required to do under their supervision. And so our staff does contact the parole agent, and we also remind the individual to connect with GEO services to get those additional temporary housing services. And with any individual that comes to the reentry center, both centers and are unhoused or have our housing vulnerability, we do conduct a housing via SPDAT assessment, and they also receive information on housing resources. In partnership with the Office of Supportive Housing, we have some staff at the Reentry Center here in San Jose, a community worker that will meet with individuals, whether they're parolees or just any individual under probation supervision, court supervision, or folks that are just recently released from jail, to provide them with that housing assessment. And then based on that housing assessment, they could get referred to various housing. We also leverage our faith-based services, the behavioral health staff, and our staff to also conduct VI SPDAT assessment. So at any entry point, they could receive that assessment. And then depending on that assessment and depending on their criteria, they parolees may be eligible to receive financial assistance through our Reentry Emergency Assistance Program, what we call the EAP, and then also through our Rapid Rehousing Program. And that is dedicated AB 109 funding to support those two programs. And as part of your recommended budget, the board is hoping to, we're hoping that the board approves those one-time to ongoing reentry housing services so we can maintain our current housing programs for individuals that are enrolled and receive that program. And then want to also just remind this committee that as county residents, parolees, and as Medi-Cal beneficiaries, they can also access mental health residential treatment housing slots for temporary services that are provided for individuals that are enrolled in mental health services. And then as with our service navigators, and you heard the presentation, our faith-based centers, they also have flex funds to support clients that are justice involved, whether they're parolees or folks under probation or other type of supervision. And so with that, we're open for questions, and and we also have representatives from GEO here to answer any specific questions.
Just go to public comment, and then I'm going to come back to my colleagues.
All right, so I do have 4 cards for speakers in chambers, and I have 1 hand raised in Zoom. Okay, so I'll go ahead and call the speakers. Please form a line in the center towards the podium. So I have Wes Mukoyama, Tian Nguyen, Chris Lee, and Trung Tong.
Good afternoon, and again, thank you Tony, for what you've done. I've been doing research on this since I brought this up, and I've been looking. I called GEO. I finally talked to somebody, and what's lacking here, and I want to say thank you to Reentry. They're going to relook at this, but there's no pre-planning from the prison. So the parolee has to get out, get to his parole agent, and then get the housing. We need to have Santa Clara County outreach to the prisons where they can plan their discharge to get temporary housing. That is not existing now. And I have 3 of my people who I knew in the jail, and I did meditation with them. And I've communicated with them, at least 2 of them, every 2 weeks, since they've been out. And 2 of them have been in prison for 10 years or more. So I want you to hear what they have to say. But I remember that Nancy Pena said, when she started the faith base, that 90% of the inmates in jail have some form of behavioral health issue. But when they're in prison for 20 years or 10 or more years, they're not going to say, I've had substance use. They've had the experience of substance use or PTSD probably, but not a major, not a psychotic illness. Then they can be identified. But the only way mental health can get housing for them is when they're referred from the prison. But people are getting out and they're not going to say. So there has to be more collaboration between all the departments, between behavioral health, GEO, and also reentry, and that's not happening.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tien Nguyen, and I was incarcerated for over a decade for a crime of murder here in Santa Clara County. As someone who committed their crime as a youth, I was offered opportunities by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR, to make a transformation that would lead to me discovering the underlying beliefs and characteristics that led to my choices in the past that hurt so many people. I am forever grateful for those opportunities because they are a reminder of what helped shape who I am today, as well as the deepening sorrow that follows for the man that is no longer here today. Upon being granted suitability for parole by the Board of Parole Hearings and the Governor's Office, I thought I would return to Santa Clara County. I wanted to contribute positively to the community that I once destroyed. This opportunity was one that was not offered to me. I was told by the parole supervisor of CDCR and the Board of Parole Hearings that Santa Clara County does not have a transitional housing for long-term offenders. As a long-term offender, my choices of parole were outside of Santa Clara County. My story of not having an opportunity to return to the county as a long-term offender is not an isolated one. Those who are paroled from our California prisons with transitional housing mandates cannot return to Santa Clara County because of the lack of transitional housing. Long-term offenders, according to data from CDCR from 2011 to 2019, have a less than 4% of recidivism rate and a less than 1% for a felony against a person. So today, I implore you all to help create these opportunities for those just like myself who are still incarcerated today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Podium. Yeah, perfect.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Lee. I just spent 16 years in prison, and I've been out for just over 3 months now. For people who do not require outpatient care like mental health or addiction, there is no transitional housing for parolees in Santa Clara County. Upon my release, I was given $200, had no forms of identification, no driver's license, no bank account, no credit card, and no cell phone. It took me weeks before I acquired any of those initial basic tools, and I continue to face new challenges every day as I continue to get acclimated to modern day life. If it wasn't for the support of my family to provide me the housing and stability, the transportation and food, and the time to get my affairs in order with the roof over my head. Difficulties and challenges that countless other returning citizens from Santa Clara County face today as we speak would have practically felt insurmountable. I am fortunate enough and grateful to have that level of necessary support, but so many do not. Now, I ask that you imagine all those basic initial challenges for those who have no support and are away for 5, 10, 15, or 25 years. And then imagine doing it from 50 miles away from the only place you ever lived in society because your county doesn't provide the transitional housing support to re-enter the community you are returning to. Not only is this a logistical problem, but in my opinion, I believe it's also psychologically hurtful. I wanted nothing more than to return to my community and be of service as a contributing member. But with the absence of basic needs like transitional housing, it feels like the county does not care to support my successful reentry. And it makes me question whether or not I am welcome home, and maybe I'm not. But I ask you to imagine how disillusioned a person might be if his or her own community rejected or ignored them for any reason, and in this case, after having paid their debt to society. In this issue, I believe inaction is equivalent to harmful action, and for many, the only support available is from the community we return to. For a person coming out after decades, a single day or two on the streets without direct entry or access to transitional housing can be the difference between reentry and recidivism, between success and failure, and maybe even between life and death. So as a community and as individuals, I believe the decent thing to do here is to provide returning citizens the transitional housing support that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Trung, I'm also formerly incarcerated. I came home in 2020, but more to that, I am currently a program manager with a behavioral health agency here, Asian American Recovery Services, and I get the opportunity to work with Judge Manley. I'm a substance use counselor, and I am also a social worker. I recently graduated from a master's degree in social work 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations, wow, that's great.
Thank you. And the reason why I'm sharing this story is that I want to emphasize the importance of helping folks who are like myself, like the brothers who just spoke, during the first few years of reintegration back to society. There are many stories like ourselves. We're not unique, but there are also many other stories that were the opposite of that. And so for me, coming home, I did not have housing. I came to Santa Clara County, all the services were tailored to substance use treatment or mental health treatment. So there's got to be some kind of primary diagnosis for those conditions. That did not relate to people like ourselves. So what I had to do was transfer everything, my parole, to Oakland and Alameda County, because they had it there. They also have it in San Francisco County. So maybe some of the models there that have worked for many years can be replicated here. So during that time, I did not have any support from family. I had to turn down a job opportunity and start over there. And after 6 months of being there, it was difficult, and I ended up, I saved enough money to be able to move back. But there are many areas right there that could have led me to have some kind of relapse, to be, a higher chance to come back to prison, recidivate, especially for others like myself who didn't have a lot of support and opportunities. So, what I'm really saying is that there are specific needs for the prison populations coming out of prisons. They're very different from what is existing here. And so I think it's important to really look into those stories, those narratives, and understand more compared to, folks that are, receiving mental health or substance use treatment, because these are two different populations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just go ahead to our speaker on Zoom. Our next speaker is Simon Liu. Simon, we have unmuted you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, and the timer will begin when you begin speaking.
Hi, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Simon Liu. I am the founder of Bay Area Freedom Collective. We are based in Alameda County. I myself are a formerly incarcerated person who spent 21 years in prison since the age of 16. After my release, I became a software engineer. I made a good life for myself, and I'm seeing my friends who getting out of prison did not achieve the same success. And I started debugging. We built a reentry organization that house and support individuals coming from prison after they're serving 10 years or more in prison. We're seeing a lot of people coming from Santa Clara County telling us that they don't have reentry housing in Santa Clara County. A lot of folks who got resentenced did not get connected to GEO or any of those for-profit services that are mandated by the state. So in the past 3.5 years, we served over 32 individuals. We have 0 recidivism, and everybody's employed. And we did that with an all-volunteer program. I think that community-based program is much needed in the success of reentry service. We do reentry support. We take them to get their driver's license. We do a whole wraparound service. And throughout the 3 years, we are now in the process of expanding. We see people coming from Santa Clara County who doesn't have family, and sometimes their family are too poor to house them, to support them. So we pick up the slack, me and my team. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have one final speaker in person, Rina Roman. Please approach the podium. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having GEO here today. And I wanted to let you know I am a representative of GEO Group Stop Area 2. California is actually broken up into 6 different stop regions, and it is a contract by the CDCR that we oversee during this time. I did want to acknowledge the barriers with regards to the overall transitions from the institution, whether you're long-term offender, lifer, or just somebody that has done very minimal time. My role within Stop Area 2 is I am the liaison between the communities and the institutions, but I am not the liaison between the Board of Parole. So I think that's where there is some barriers as well and a level of transparency. But what I'm hoping for is with my role and with the many different agencies I volunteer with and the different community engagements I go to within the Central West Coast is to acknowledge those barriers and to thank the gentleman for being willing to address that today. And however we can bridge that gap between county, community, and state and institution, I'm on board with hearing different ideas, and I just wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have no other public speakers. I'm going to close the public comment, and I'm going to go to my colleagues to see if there are comments here. Would you like to start?
Yes, I just wanted to say I'm representing formerly justice-involved individuals, and I understand that there is a huge gap with housing, and the time that people are spent at GEO is for 6 months, and I don't think that's enough time for someone to become stable enough to find permanent housing, and that's a big issue. There's also an issue I wanted to bring up. What kind of discharge plans are you creating for our Penal Code 290 registrants, the ones that don't qualify for housing because of HUD guidelines and they're disabled? I had 4 clients that I know of that their time was up at GEO and they're back in their encampments. So I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to that? For somebody from GEO? Thank you. Welcome.
My pleasure. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for letting us be here. I'm very grateful for that. In regards to the barriers for discharge plans for 290 registrants, as we all know, there are barriers for the 290 registrants. So we do the very best that we can in order to, when our participants come in, they do an intake and they do a discharge plan at the same time. And of course, their goal and their hope is to be able to find housing when they when they leave our program. However, as we all know, that most of the society does not welcome 290 registrants. So what happens for our 290 registrants is they end up either staying at self-pay at the housing that we do use, or if they do stay self-pay and they end up leaving, then we have no control over that. We too find the same barriers that all of the rest of you find in regards to the lack of housing for 290 registrants. So what we do is our very best, just like everybody else, and try to find housing for them. And once they leave our program, like I said, majority of the time the 290 registrants are either in there, we have had 290 registrants find housing in different apartment areas. We've had 290 registrants that can go back home. And then we have the majority of them actually try to stay self-pay at the facility where they're at. So when they are in that housing situation, if they are there at self-pay and then at some point they decide they want to leave because they have relapsed into substance use and broken the rules or whatever, then they may end up back out into encampments.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Susan?
Thank you so much. I have a few questions. The most, maybe, I'll let you know if you're the best one to answer them. Just kind of want to generally note first the disconnect between a program that clearly exists and a number of folks who either didn't know it existed or didn't know at the time they needed it how to apply, because clearly something does exist. Is there, I'm sorry, tell me your name again from GEO? Rena and Jennifer. Is there a capacity issue? Are you turning people away?
Thank you for asking the questions. I appreciate it because I've been wanting to get out into, we've had a leadership change in the last year, so I've been wanting to get myself out into the public and introduce
Gotcha.
myself
Thank you for
to
being
all of
here.
you. Thank you for having me. Okay, what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Do you have a capacity issue? Are parolees who would otherwise be eligible turned away?
Okay, so in terms of a capacity issue for housing, yes, we do. We provide an evidence-based practice program, and so that when the parolees are referred to our program, they are entered into a program, a complete program. We focus on their key life areas and their risk needs for criminal recidivism.
Sorry, that wasn't quite my question. Are any parolees turned away because your housing, your THUs are full?
Yes, lately they have been because we are
Okay.
at capacity.
Okay.
However, they're not turned away from our program.
Got
We
it.
are all
Okay.
encompassing. Stop is a different division. So when they come to the DRC, they're referred for the programming. And in addition, if they need housing in addition to that, while they're programming with us in our reentry program, then they are given housing. So we supply that for them to assist them in being able to reenter into society and get back on their feet, as all of the other organizations do. So yes, there is a cap. Our program capacity is 115 individuals, but our housing capacity based on our contractual obligation with the CDCR is 25%. So at this current moment.
25% of.
25% of our, and I wasn't prepared to answer these detailed questions, I'll be honest with you. I'd like another opportunity to get on your agenda.
Totally fair.
And
Yeah.
present
I
our
don't mean to
services
be
you.
putting you on the spot. We're trying to learn as well.
Yes, absolutely, I get it. 25% of, of our capacity, of our daily capacity. So, and our daily capacity hovers around 79 to 83, just depending. We go in waves.
So she didn't need the public speaker comment, but yeah, I think what would be really helpful would be to invite them back to
Oh, I'd
really talk
love
about
to, yes.
the details of the program, the number of units that you have, how long the waiting list is, and also what the communication is, because we shouldn't have folks, like those who spoke, who clearly didn't know that something existed.
Well, we
A
have
different story from not having capacity, but to not even know this is here suggests communication challenges. So
Absolutely.
I would suspect the chair will work with you to come back to us.
And I think the other question, though, is that
Please, ask.
not necessarily for you, but I think the other issue is for folks that are coming out that are not needing programming but need just housing. So what I'm going to suggest is that instead of trying to peel the onion right this second, that we actually structure a discussion in a little more detail with staff so that we can walk through. I thought the report was helpful, but it was somewhat challenging to digest relative to the needs that are being raised. So I want to take the time to actually talk through the question we're trying to answer today.
Yeah, 'cause-
So, do you have other questions?
That may not be answered now, but I think, as I'm trying to put it all together as well, if people have to be eligible for the programs to be eligible for the housing, that's where the disconnect is, because I think we're talking about folks who came back not needing programs or services, but literally somewhere to live. And to that, I'll direct a question to Key. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Okay, I just would, if you don't mind, I'd like to say one other thing. There is a barrier for our individuals, and back to your question, Jennifer, about 290s and our participants in general. There's a barrier with them being able to get housing when they're preparing their aftercare to exit our program, because they are not, if they're in our program, they're not allowed to collaborate with the reentry center to move further with housing.
Thank you so much. I'm cutting you off a little bit just because I know we're at the end of our agenda
Can't lose
time, but we'll
quorum.
come back.
So
Right.
everybody stay where you are.
And Key, very quickly, are people returning from state prison who now have felony convictions on their records, are they still eligible to, if they are unhoused, to apply for housing through our VI SPDAT?
Yes, and some, depending on their conviction or their record, they may be ineligible for certain types of programs, but generally they're open for our entire system.
Thank you. And if you could include that aspect
point.
with the with this follow-up discussion so that we can understand where eligibility lies and who, if anybody, what category of people might be falling through all the cracks and aren't eligible for anything. Thank you so much.
That's actually an excellent way to put that question. Shireen?
Thank you all for your.
Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing. I just have one question, and I'm not sure if anyone here is able to answer this, but is a parolee prevented from being released into Santa Clara County if they do not have long-term housing? For example, the parole officers are not assigned or anything like that?
Hi, Shireen. So while I was incarcerated, I worked closely with the parole supervisors for CDCR. And the issue is that when they give you a resource list while you're incarcerated, Santa Clara County is not on that resource list. Because GEO does have a reentry home. It's in San Francisco. It's in other counties. But they do not have a transitional housing for long-term offenders in Santa Clara County. So when you go down that list and you look for transitional housing, because they're not on the list, Santa Clara County is not on the list, you cannot even select the Santa Clara County.
So maybe I want to phrase my question a little bit differently.
She's asking a different question, but thank you.
And
Thank you for the information. But I'm going to have you sit down.
All right.
Thank you, and I'm going to go back to you. All right, Shireen.
I think my question is, can a person be assigned to a parole officer in Santa Clara if they don't have long-term housing? Like if they're unhoused, if they're in an encampment, can they still be assigned a parole officer in Santa Clara County?
It is my understanding that, yes, they are assigned to Santa Clara County regardless of whether they're going to be housed or not.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's mandatory. They're on parole. They must have a parole agent.
Even she was asking about release in our community, like could somebody be released? But I think Javier answered that question. All right, Nick, you get the last word on this. Sorry, you guys. I know you're all like looking at your clock watch because we were supposed to end at 11:30, so I'm gonna wrap us up.
This really is only half of the population that gets released from prison because probation supervises the other half that gets released from from prison. And part of the issue with this, and we experienced it as well, is CDCR is supposed to give us notification of when clients are going to be released from CDCR. We receive their packets from probation if they're going to be on probation supervision. And if they don't get us those packets 60, 90 days in advance, that's where you have problematic with housing folks and making sure that they do have housing, because we will do an assessment with someone in prison. If we get that packet in enough time, we probably are able to interview maybe 30 to 40% of those folks who are going to be released. The other folks that we're not able to is either we don't get the packet in time or they don't have the staffing at CDCR to allow us to then have those conferences so that we can start that packet prior to them receiving. And this has been an ongoing issue since 2011 when this started with AB 109. And so we work with CDCR through CPOC. They periodically come when we have our quarterly meetings saying, hey, this is still an issue. We need to be able to get those packets earlier so that we can set this up for those folks who don't have housing. We refer a significant number of them to Javier at reentry if they don't have housing, but it really is contingent on how soon we get that packet so we can start that interview and start that process.
Thank you. I think, you know, colleagues, I want to just recommend that we re-agendize this with a lot more detail and perhaps some flow charts so we understand who's where and who's responsible for whom. And also, I think a really important question is what are people eligible for and what are they not eligible for, and then how are we responding, both our for-profit and nonprofit partners and then the county itself. And I do just want to add, I'm sorry Gabby's not here because I would have asked Gabby this question too, but I would like to engage behavioral health in this discussion as well, Javier, because they play such a critical role in the courts in making those connections. So I want to make sure we can do that together. We're not going to take action on this report except to for our clerk to re-agendize it and work with my staff on timing for that, because I do think this is a really important issue. I want to say thank you very much for the speakers who came out and shared your experiences. That made a big, big difference in terms of our understanding, so thank you very much. With that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting, and I will see you all again sometime very soon. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.